This is Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars with Trevor Long and Stephen Fennick. Thanks to NRMA Insurance and Uniden.
Took away my air guitar. I got another one. Is that what you were saying?
Good throwback to last week. Yeah, good throwback.
Good
Well done.
Mate.
NRMA Insurance.
Seems like just yesterday we recorded that.
Proud support.
Yeah.
Proud supporters of Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars and helping protect over 3 million Australians' valuable goods and services. You can check out NRMA Insurance, of course, and we love the people at Uniden.
Uniden, yeah.
Great dash cams. If you want to know more about dash cams, listen to the last week's show. Brad Hales from Uniden.
Yes.
There to inform us all. Stephen, we've got a lot of calls.
Flood of callers, eh? People wanting to be on the show, and we love that. We love to hear from people.
Yeah.
We want to hear your perspective because everyone's got their own experience, their own perspective. It's different to yours, different to mine.
Yeah.
And that just helps people make their decision.
And we know
whether they want an EV or not.
We know that a lot of Two Blokes Talking Tech listeners,
yes,
we appreciate you sticking in for this show as well.
Yeah. Free of charge, by the way. Free. You get it free in the feed.
Wait, what?
Yeah, free.
How did
no
that happen?
charge. No
I did
charge.
not approve that.
Yeah, well, it's,
I definitely would have charged zero. See what I did there? No, but that means you're interested in tech, but you probably, I think on the percentages, you probably don't have an EV. So you're the people we want to talk to as well. Just because you don't own an EV doesn't exclude you from this conversation. Just if there's something in the back of your mind, just if you heard someone rabbiting on about them and you want to clarify it, come to us. Let's talk. 0477 657 657. Bunch of calls to get to today here on Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. I was trying to follow you, and it just didn't. Oh, whoa! That's new. That's a very new movement.
Mate, you just got to use your imagination here. You can't be doing the same moves twice.
There it is. Yeah. If you've got an EV or you're in the market for an EV, get in touch. The Two Blokes would love to talk to you. You can get in touch with us on our own website, techguide.com.au, EFTM.com.
And just a side note, we are getting some amazing feedback on the podcast, and it's because of these interviews that we do with drivers, potential drivers. It's the same questions that people will be asking us at a barbecue or some other people at a barbecue. This information that people are providing is really of great benefit to listeners.
People talk to you at barbecues?
Yeah.
No one talks to you.
You don't talk to you?
No.
Oh.
I'll sit inside.
Yeah, Trev's a bit of an introvert.
I'm a recluse.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of that, 0477 657 657. If you want to send a text, 0477 657 657. Next call's on the line. G'day, Adam. How you doing, mate?
Good fellas.
What do you own? What do you drive? What are you buying? What are you thinking of? Where's your EV journey at?
So we took delivery on the 22nd of a BYD Seal, the dynamic, I believe that's one, the standard range.
Right. The basic one. There's only two models, and there's not two, there's three?
I think it's three.
No, there's three. They've got the premium and then the performance.
Okay, so entry level. How long was the process of making that decision?
Basically, we'd had a 2006 X-Trail for some time, and it was time to upgrade. Actually, had set on getting the Excite 51 MG4.
Mm-hmm.
My mate bought one of those, an excellent little car, great value, and but then crazy mistake, took the missus out to the Auto Mall at Indooroopilly, which is actually across from where MG are there as well, and saw a black Seal, and that was the end of it. So.
And that was sealed
Love
after that,
at first sight.
So this is your wife's car. You bought it for your missus.
Yes. So part of the agreement was if I'm going to spend the extra 10 grand, then that's your birthday present.
Oh, wow. Mate, you're making us look bad, mate. You're spending this sort of money on your missus. What are we going to do now? How are we going to match that? And so, mate, so you've had it since April?
About a month
or two. And so, what's the verdict, mate? Give us yours or your wife, what she thinks of it. Good and bad. Let's start with what you like about it.
Absolutely. Well, both of us agree probably all over. Like, you go through it. I mean, you guys, I heard, you've driven them too. Yeah. The finish is very surprising. I thought, like the quality of finish, the comfort, the features. I really do like the look of it and the shape. It's really nice. It's comfy to drive. The range is perfect. She only goes into the office a few days a week, so it's probably only doing a couple of 100 Ks a week.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're just granny charging it, and the fact it costs nothing, doesn't when you turn it on, all those sorts of things.
I agree with you too with the finish and the fit of it. I drove it a few weeks ago, and I think I messaged Trevor in the car, and after 15 minutes, I think I've only been driving this for 15 minutes, and I reckon it's really nice.
It is, and I think
it really
even if
captures you.
even if the wife or anyone falls in love with the look of it at first sight, there is a chance you get into a car and you go, nah. Like you could get into Tesla and go, I don't like this minimalist feel. You might get into it and love it. There's a vast difference between those things. But in your case, Adam, you you and her not only like the look of it, but you got in it and went, mate, this is
it's nice.
Like it's a
it
premium
punches
feel,
above
isn't
its
it?
weight, is what I said.
Yeah, it really is. Like all those funky little light things, and just the overall compartments and pockets, and the you got the wireless charging obviously in the front,
adjustable screen,
and the ports. Yeah, I love that. And then in the back, obviously, you got chargers too. The kids were spun out by that. Oh, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
Can I ask, Adam, you bought the Seal, which is you can call it a competitor of the Model 3, right? Was the Tesla ever in the picture?
It was, but only if she decided to do a novated lease that it was. But once she saw the Seal, every time she sees a Tesla now, it's like, ooh, they're ugly.
She's a woman after my own heart.
Trevor says that too,
Yeah, the Model Ys. Yeah, look like a toad.
Look like a what?
Toad.
I didn't get that.
I didn't know what you said.
Maybe it's good we never got that.
A toad.
A toad. Toad on the road. There you go.
Oh, that's the best ever. Now, I'm using that, Adam. I'm using that. So you said you're granny charging, you're trickle charging it, right?
Yep.
So have you done any trips outside of the commute? Have you been to public charges or anything like that, or you don't see that in your near future or any regularity?
Well, fortunately, where we live, western suburbs of Brizzy, just not far from Ipswich, our local Woolies has just had the EV ones put in. Haven't had to use them yet.
Yep.
We did stay in town Friday night, so we haven't really driven far, but 50% I think it was at, and they had the hotel we were at had free charging, AC charging. It was obviously 7 kilowatt or whatever they are, so they topped it up. But outside of that, no, we've just managed to get away with that for now. Maybe down the track we might, put the what are they? 7.1, whatever kilowatt charger in.
Yeah.
But haven't really had a need for it yet, which is just obviously we don't do huge commuting, so I don't see any sense in having a plug-in or a petrol as a result of that.
Sounds like you love the car, mate. Is there anything that you would change or you don't like about the car, or?
In terms of the car itself, probably only the fact you can't permanently turn off the traffic sign recognition. That drives me nuts. I don't need to be told I'm speeding. I know that.
Yes.
But probably my
Sorry, that is a great quote.
It's true,
I don't need to be told I'm speeding. I know that.
Yes,
well,
I agree, mate.
The mail will generally tell me. So
it's a real nanny feature, that one, isn't it? Sort of telling you, oh, hang on, you've gone
it
over.
micromanages you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Probably my biggest criticism would be that I think they've got a little way to go with customer service still. I definitely think that.
Tell us more, mate. What do you mean?
Yeah. So we paid the deposit, and it was probably 6 weeks without hearing anything. I happened to touch base with the business manager there at the auto mall, and he's been great. But he ended up taking it on. The salesperson never got in contact, and then it was took delivery. The guy who did the delivery was pretty good, but didn't. We sort of wife said, "Oh, we should have paint protection and ceramic coating and the windows, the front windows tinted." He said, "Is there any literature, documents, warranty, all of that?" I was like, "Oh no, I don't know where that is. It'll be 25 years or whatever." Anyway, that sort of really peeved me off, and I kept following them up, and it was sort of like a couple of weeks not getting a document. And what happened was we actually ended up getting a scuff on the side of the car.
Oh.
And I took it to because I didn't get a response from them on what I do in this situation. I'm going, look, obviously I don't know if this is covered by warranty, if it's, only light scratching, is it covered what, and where do I take it, and so I didn't hear anything. So I just went past work one day, dropped into the reputable mob down at Browns Plains in Brizzy, and they buffed it and said, "Mate, there's no paint protection on this." And I went, "You kidding me?"
And you'd paid for that.
So yeah, then I did, yeah. So I've spent 2 weeks chasing them, and actually, interestingly enough,
Yeah,
that's a great point because I've got to be honest with you.
That's average, isn't it?
I don't know how you know. Like
exactly, yeah.
A new car, like the water bubbles because it's a new car, it's waxed. The paint protection or graphene or whatever you do, like it's all like it's actually it is a bit of smoke and mirrors. So for someone to tell you that is absolutely wild, mate.
So Adam, where are you at now?
I was livid.
Oh, I don't blame you, mate. I don't blame you.
But he said it happens all the time.
Did you get a refund?
Yeah, so I got a refund on that. Yeah, so at this moment in time,
took a while to get it, but took a while.
Yeah, a lot of back and forwards and all of that.
Yeah, that's pretty poor. I've got to say, that's pretty average.
So that's probably the only thing and I've run into people in public too who've gone, "Oh, you've got to be BYD. How are they?" And I've bought one as well, and blah blah blah. And I say the same thing. The car's amazing, but I'm a little bit disappointed with the quality of customer. And they all say the same thing. Yeah,
it's fascinating, and I think Adam, in no way in their defence, but this was a small group who brought these cars in and started something that went way bigger than they thought. It's now expanded and grown into operate much more like a traditional auto retailer. They've also got now a new CEO who's come from a previous brand of importers and stuff. So I feel like we're in this dead zone between startup and genuine auto company, and we're probably not there yet. I think they've got time. So, mate, I'm going to make sure they hear this call because I think it's really important feedback for them. It makes a difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I have requested the GM that she give me a call when she's back from leave. So it'd be interesting to have a chat. But yeah, just some of the transparency, like I said, and the customer service is just a bit, well,
you know what? You're making,
like I said, how would you know if you're getting paid
exactly
if you've got no certificate with
You're making a bit of an investment there. You're spending a bit of money. You want to just know for peace of mind that everything, all the boxes are ticked, that everything's all above board. Like you go to other brands, like you're like Mercedes-Benz go out of their way to make sure. They're a different sort of brand of BYD, but BYD's been like we're only talking April. Like this is only a couple of months ago. They've been in the country for a while, selling a lot of cars.
And I say this a lot on the EFCM podcast when we're talking about like warranties and stuff, and just customer service makes all the difference.
Absolutely right. It's the point of difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't take much to invest. And I think there should be, every company should have a chief customer officer.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't care whether that's an 80 grand job or 150 grand job, whatever it is. Yeah. One person whose job is to receive from every staff member, employee, whatever, all the emails that are in any way negative. Pick up the phone. You got to cop a bit of abuse now and then, but it's so easy to solve someone's problem. Yeah. Oh, Adam, I'm going to process a refund straight away. I can't believe that happened to you, mate.
Because quite frankly, what happens in the tech space is when people like yourself aren't getting any kind of satisfaction, they contact Trev and me, then we contact someone we know, and then it's fixed. Like, and I say to the companies,
which is crazy.
If it gets to that point, you've failed.
Yeah.
If they've got to contact me to do that or Trev, you've failed.
Well, think about it from Adam's point of view as an ambassador for the brand. Yeah. Okay, you're not being paid like I don't know whoever one of the celebrities are, Jamie Jury or someone like that.
You've paid good money.
You've paid for a car, and so you are the perfect advertisement for their brand. But if you're at a barbecue having this very conversation, which I'm betting you've done 20 times,
which I've had,
you're pretty much always, when someone pushes you past the point of fandom over the EV, you're going to mention this.
Yeah.
And so imagine it just turns on its head and you go, I had this issue with this, but mate, they fixed it the next day. It was unbelievable. Yeah. It's a completely different yarn.
Exactly.
We're not even stuck on the fact they didn't put paint protection on. We're stuck on the fact they were unbelievable. That's what they need to change.
Yeah,
really good feedback.
That's what I said to them, because likewise working in customer service and business, sort of said the same thing to them, like, well, actually, one of the guys I spoke to at head office said it just sounds like the thing that's really gotten on your nerves the most, mate, is that you just haven't been communicated with. And I said, that's it. I said, everyone makes mistakes. Things happen.
Number one,
things happen.
You've got to communicate with the customers, mate. Yeah.
Everyone knows it happens. Exactly. Well, good on you, Adam. Really great to hear from you, mate. Love the story. Love the passion for the car. I'm glad that you're loving it.
Thanks for your feedback. That's important feedback you've given that other and hopefully BYD will hear this. And other owners will as well. Thank you very much.
Enjoy the EV journey, my man. Good luck.
Good on you, mate. Guys, thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Cheers, buddy. Great stuff. And look,
that sounds to me, it took the gloss off his. He obviously loves the car.
Pardon the pun.
Took the
paint protection off.
took the gloss off the sale. You know what I mean? Like,
but the good thing is it won't that degloss won't last 5 years. He'll have forgotten about that once it's all in the wash.
Yeah.
But interestingly, and I truly believe this, his negativity will die away.
Yes.
But positivity lasts. So if it had been the other way and he had this amazing car, he would still be talking about that in 2 years from now.
Yeah, of course. But you know what I mean? There's the saying is you only get one chance to make a first impression.
Yeah.
His first impression wasn't the best one. So
We will make sure BYD hears this
They're
call,
gonna hear it.
and I think that's good feedback. There's no action required. It's just great feedback.
We're giving it as it is. Like we're not talking up EVs. We're giving you the positive and the negative of the experience. So, and that is a case in point right there.
If you've got an experience like Adam, 0477 657 657. That's my favourite one.
That's a good jingle. I like.
I think it's. Can we get some feedback to the good people?
I like that one.
I reckon that's up there.
Yeah.
Anyway, what else is up there is your calls. If you have an EV, in the market for an EV, if you hate EVs, very weird podcast to listen to, but good on you. Get in touch.
Know your enemy. Yeah.
Yeah. 0477 657 657. Liam's on the line. G'day, Liam.
G'day, guys. How's it going?
Yeah,
How you
really
doing,
good, mate. Where are you at in the EV world?
I am very early in the stages of researching and all of that stuff.
Okay.
Talk to us
Where is
about where you're at.
Where is that steering you?
I took the Tesla Model 3 out for a test drive the other day,
Nice.
and fell in love with it. It was
As
having
you do,
driven a petrol car.
Yep.
Yeah, having driven a petrol car my whole life, that the regen braking and all of that was just awesome. It's like
Amazing.
it felt great.
Okay.
Nice. So,
So what's
are you
the story?
buying new? What are you looking for?
Well, I was weighing up the cost. That's the bit I can't get over is like there's all these great fuel savings, and that's kind of the main reason I wanted to get one.
Yep.
But then I stack up all the other prices like your insurance and stuff, and I'm reading people that are paying $3,000 a year or something on insurance, and I'm thinking, all these fuel savings are just going to be negated by a super high insurance premium or something.
I'll tell you now, mate, from a bloke, I've been driving EV for nearly 7 years, and Trev's been at it a while as well. If you're paying $3,000 today, you're not shopping around.
Yeah, I think,
I'll tell
mate,
you
that is the and I'll tell you my other experience is I've just got the EV9. Now, to be clear, and I'm not bragging, that's $100,000 and something car, right? I'm paying less than $3,000, and I'm paying $60 more than I paid last year with a Kia Carnival.
Yeah, my Mercedes is up there as well, and I'm paying nowhere near well under 3,000 for my insurance. So
Now,
don't get spooked.
Is there a
Don't
Tesla
get
tax
spooked.
at all
Well,
on
I'll tell you what
insurance?
happened. I think the insurance companies have gotten the message. I reckon like 5 or 6 years ago when I got my Tesla Model S. And the insurance told me, they said that they had a deal with QBE, I think was their partner. And they said, well, look, the Tesla's considered a high-powered vehicle, which it is. And so that's up there in it's like you're trying to insure a Ferrari. And there was all these different factors.
Right.
But I think over the years, now with more on the road and a bit more knowledge about it, then the insurance companies have gotten the message and they're being a bit more competitive about it now. So, yeah, shop around, mate, I think is what you need to do.
But, Liam, here's what I think. I think all power to you for being smart enough not to accept, the Tesla website is probably the worst of it, where it says, here's the price and here's the price after savings. Mate, you don't know what my savings are going to be.
Yeah.
You need to do your own calculations, right? Before I bought the EV9, I worked out exactly how much we'd spent on petrol. And look, exactly. I looked at the odometer and we'd driven this many Ks. If I average this, because the thing told me it's average, and I worked out how many litres of petrol I did, I worked out we spent $11,000 or $12,000 on petrol, right? Now, that's probably a lot less than, that was over, I think, 4 years. I think that's less than what Tesla sometimes projects, or it's more. Who knows? But it's my calculation. So I'm saving a couple of grand a year on petrol.
Yeah.
That's my number one thought. And then you're doing the right thing. Am I going to save or cost on petrol? But here's the other thing I think you should shop around on. Not because I don't like the Tesla Model 3, even though I'm not a fan. Mate, you got in that car and loved it for its driving and the different things. Mate, get in some other cars too.
Yeah.
Mate, we've had callers about the BYD Seal. Get the Atto 3. Get in the MG4.
Yeah.
Get in the Dolphin. I mean, you're probably not going to buy the Dolphin, I would suggest, but get in other electric cars so that you get a sense of what is the feeling of any electric car.
Yeah.
And what is the feeling of a Tesla? Because there might be a difference for you, but mate, I love, it doesn't matter, I've got a hatchback and an SUV, and I love both of them not because they both drive the same, very different experience, but it's that, mate, just gentle pulling away from the house in quiet. It's that little blip at the lights. It's that regen. I love that feeling, mate. When I get in my car, my Cupra, and I'm not in the regen style driving mode, there's D and B, it doesn't feel right. Yeah, I don't like it.
That's one thing that annoys me.
The regen was a big thing for me. I loved the feel of it. It was just... It felt like I was driving a Dodgem car or something.
So what are you driving now, mate? What do you got now? You see you're driving a petrol car. What sort of car do you drive now?
Oh, far different from a Tesla. I'm in a 2014 Mitsubishi Lancer at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Gets you from A to B, though, mate. So have you always been have you only looked at Tesla, or as Trevor suggested, have you sort of been or seen what's out there, or is it you just got your heart set on a Tesla?
I'm one of these guys that I saw the Tesla, and as soon as I saw it, I loved it. But in saying that, I haven't looked at the other options, and I think budget-wise, it's probably something wise that I should do, because you're right. I've got an Excel spreadsheet crunching all the numbers, and I'm going,
mate,
it's a lot of money to drop
price
on.
is the number too, mate.
Because that monthly payment makes a big difference. Again, that's how I convinced myself, to be honest, to buy the EV9. Was I did a finance deal that meant the payments were very similar to what I was already paying. Now, of course, I added a year. I did the Carnival on a 4-year. I went 5 years on the EV9. You got to do things sometimes to get what you want. So you might do those kind of things. But, mate, when you drive the BYD Seal, when you drive the MG4, it's a great experience to understand what else is out there. But then you'll go back to your spreadsheet and you go, oh, hang on a minute.
Yeah, the BYD Seal is like $12,000 cheaper. Or are you intending to buy this outright? Are you going to get it on a lease, or how are you going to do it, mate?
Oh, I was thinking outright, but I was looking at second-hand ones, and that was kind of another question I had for you guys. Second-hand, is it good or bad to do? Because they've already dropped, like, second-hand ones, they've dropped in value heaps. Like, I could get a Tesla Model 3 for like $39,000 versus a $55,000 new one.
Well, I think the thing you got to look at is obviously the battery. Battery health is number one you got to look for. I sold my Model S last year, and it was 5 years old. And the guy who bought it knew a lot about it. He saw my battery health was good because I only charge it to 90% for my daily driving limit. So I did the right thing as an owner to make sure the battery was in good health. So I think if you can look at that, if you can just check to see where it's at, perhaps I think the Tesla battery warranty is 8 years. So if you're buying, like the bloke who bought mine still had 3 years left on the battery warranty. So that sort of gave him a bit of peace of mind. So I think if they're the things you need to look at, then make sure that you get. I'm pretty sure Tesla that you can probably get an inspection done as well on the car to make sure the battery's okay.
Mate, battery health is it. I mean, I honestly, and I've said this before, I said it's the Amazing EV guys that do the second-hand car sales. And by the way, that's a good website. It's amazingev.com.au. Check that out.
We interviewed the founder on the show a few weeks ago.
I think that electric cars should be sold with a battery health indicator. It should be like odometer, location, battery health. That should
be a figure, be a figure.
I would not buy a second-hand electric car without understanding its battery health. Now, one way to check the battery health on your own, if it's a different model car to a Tesla, which will tell you its battery health in the right settings, is actually just to go, right, I'm coming around to inspect the car. I want it at 100% capacity. I want you to charge to 100%. Because then when you get there, if it says the predicted range is 320 Ks and it was sold with 430, then you're like, this person's been driving a car for 3 years and it's predicting 100 Ks less than normal. You want it to be want it to be within a decent range of that originally specified WLTP range.
Yeah, I've heard a few people say similar things, and I was quite surprised when I found out that Tesla doesn't have some kind of battery health indicator on it already. When I asked the guys at Tesla, how do you check that sort of thing? They couldn't really give me a good answer.
I thought there was.
It's buried in the settings. You can get at it. Is
it in service mode though?
Maybe, but it's also too. You got to make sure the latest version of the software's running, and depending on the age of the car as well.
True, yeah.
You got to check those things. So, what is there? Are there any, like you mentioned, you saw some that are pretty cheap? How old are those vehicles you're looking at?
I was looking at 2021 models because somebody said something about them being the first ones made in China or something along those lines.
Right.
The quality being better than the ones that came out of the US. But again, still very early in the research stages, and haven't really made too many decisions on it. So.
Well, mate, my number one encouragement is you're doing a great thing with a spreadsheet. I love a spreadsheet nerd who's worried about and looking after money. I use spreadsheets to manipulate my own needs to get the thing I want. I don't really save money. I'm not good like that.
The figures, you massage the figures.
I can cook the books for anyone. But I do encourage you to go and drive. So the good thing is you can go and drive in the showroom. And you still buy second hand.
Go the BYD. I honestly reckon test drive the BYD Seal, which I mentioned I've had. I drove it, loved it, and it is a direct competitor to the Model 3. I know it's not a Tesla, and we've had this discussion as well. I know people have got their heart set on a Tesla because it's a Tesla. It's like you want to buy an iPhone because it's Apple make it.
Yeah.
But I reckon if you're looking at secondhand, that's great. But also, I reckon have a look around. You might be able to get something new that might give you some value as well.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely got to have a seat in the BYD Seal. I've sat in the BYD Atto 3.
Yep.
Wasn't a fan.
Seal's much better, mates. You'll be surprised. The Seal has a really nice finish. It is, and I've said this before in our reviews and other calls. It punches above its weight. The fit and finish for what you're paying for it is pretty solid.
The difference is you won't find one of them secondhand easily. So you're going to push
your
prices up, right? Yeah. So
unless you get a demonstrator or something, there might be a deal there as well. You might get a demonstrator.
Mate, you're in for a fun ride. I love the research you're doing. Keep us in the loop, all right? Get back to us when you pick up the keys,
make
all right?
a decision. We want to get you back on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll keep you guys updated if I end up getting one or taking some more test drives.
You'll get one, mate. Not if, when you get one. When you get one is the same.
I heard the same thing.
Hey, come on.
Good on you, Liam.
Thanks a lot, buddy.
Legend. Thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate. Good on you. Yeah, I mean, we both heard if I get one, mate. The bloke's got a spreadsheet for crying out loud. He's getting one.
It's when, mate. That's right.
He's getting one.
You know what? It's again another perspective that like secondhand EVs is an absolute topic because a lot of people are looking at it. Like in Liam's case, not everyone can afford to buy the new Model 3 or any new vehicle.
Absolutely.
Then the second-hand market is an interesting one, especially with EVs. And people are saying prices have dropped off a cliff, and depending on the model you're looking for, of course. But, it's well worth doing what he's doing and doing all that research.
All right, get in touch, 0477 657 657. Should we get some bongos on set? I feel like I need...
I've got virtual ones over here, mate.
Virtual bongos. I'm not sure how I feel about that, Stephen, but anyway,
Virtual
moving on.
bongos.
Yeah, no, you do you. It feels like a real garage band thing.
Maybe, yeah.
Virtual bongos.
Maybe.
Anyway, we'd love to hear from you if you own an EV, 0477 657 657. Another EV owner on the line, Chris. Now, Chris is a long-time friend of the show, friend of the Two Blokes, doing very well. Owns a Porsche Taycan. Chris, g'day.
How you going, mate?
Yeah, really, really good. Now, you were one of the very first to pick up a Porsche Taycan in Australia. That's got to be a couple of years ago now.
Just over 3 years ago. I was invited to the launch.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a big backstory there, but they invited me to launch at this factory tour in Stuttgart. They gave me a heads up on the product, so I was one of the first to line up for it.
See, high worth customers, mate. They reach out to people like that. People
is that how your Mercedes story
doing
went?
very well. They reach out to those, high worth customers.
Flew you to Germany.
I wish.
The EQE,
I wish, mate. I wish.
Here's the thing. Now, I know you well enough to know this is not a car that sits in your garage. This is a car you've taken on road trips. You've taken it to tracks.
Yep.
I mean, you've put golf livery on this thing. This is a passion car for you, right?
Yeah, as you know, Trevor, I'm pretty much into my cars. Got a number of Porsches and so forth. So this was just going to be a daily driver. I don't treat it any differently. In fact, the head of marketing at Porsche rang me up and said, give me an experience as being one of the first owners. And I said, look, I've taken it to Macca's drive-through. I've done track days. I took it to Bathurst track day. I took it to Bunnings and got my mulch. And they sort of said, look, that's not really our typical demographic. And I said, well, the car does it, so I'm just doing it.
Wow.
That's good, mate. So and obviously being an EV podcast, we're talking to you about your EV experience. And this was your first EV. So how was the transition from a fuel car to an EV when you first got it?
It was a bit of a surprise. Yes, you get the quietness and the consumption and everything, but I came from a C63S, very loud, very noisy, into a very quiet car. I've got to say, what I like about the car after doing the test drive is, regardless of the power source, it still drives like a Porsche.
Yes.
So steering, brakes, ride, performance. It doesn't matter what the motor is; it still drives like Porsche, and that's what attracted me to it.
And that's fascinating because when
I
was, I'll do a brag now. I was in Berlin for the reveal of the car in 2019 or whatever it was. And I remember Mark Webber at the time, and I interviewed him standing in front of the thing. It was just unbelievable experience. But he was like, mate, I'm a Porsche ambassador or whatever he was at the time. He still is. I've driven every car on every track and every road. He said, this thing feels like a Porsche. Yeah. And he also made the point, Chris, and this is a really critical thing about performance in a car. Yeah. He said, this thing will go 0 to 100 over and over and over again, whereas other brands, referring to Tesla, will do the 0 to 100 and then slowly that number will degrade over time. And he said a Porsche needs to be able to do a hill climb and go up, an alpine hill, hairpin, up again. And that's the performance. So they really did set themselves a pretty high benchmark for this car.
Yeah, we had a drive to range day at Eastern Creek, and we were doing hot laps, and it was taking a beating. And on the way home, I went to get the groceries and went to Macca's, and it's just like any other car, right? Yeah. So it didn't matter that we did hard launches and big stops, and nothing faded. So it just kept going.
It's from what you're saying. Obviously, this is your daily driver. You take it everywhere, and so what you're driving a fair few kilometres a day. Like, I know you got to commute, and how's your charging situation as well?
Look, I can't speak for all drivers, but I've obviously got home charge in a Powerwall.
Yep.
I can go to the dealership and charge for free. So here's the difference. I get about 450k range. I don't live far from work. I'm probably only charging once a week.
Yeah. Right.
But I could be, if I'm passing by the dealer like Porsche South Sydney, I can drop in and they'll charge my car in 30 minutes. But they also wash the car and I get a free coffee.
Oh, wow.
Whilst they're showing the range.
Is that right? So, while you're charging your car, they'll wash your car too?
Yeah, well, mate, listen.
Wow.
I'm not advertising that for them.
This is the thing about...
part of that whole...
Yeah. This is the experience, isn't
part
it?
Part of the ownership experience.
People think of a Porsche or a Mercedes as just a luxury car or something, but this is a sports car brand that values its customers to the point where, mate, Chris, I drove the Taycan to Newcastle to go to the V8 supercars like 3 or 4 years ago. And I pulled into the Porsche Centre at Newcastle, right? Pulled in, just plugged in, had Jolly with me, plugged it in, and we just sat. We were standing around the car. Bloke comes out, he goes, "Oh, please come in and sit in the lounge. Do you want a coffee?" Like, I'm like, "Mate, I don't own the car, so like, he goes, "Doesn't matter, mate. You're driving it. It's an experience." I'm like, "This is unbelievable."
I wouldn't have said that. I would have acted like the owner. I would have said, "Yeah, thanks, mate."
But critically though, Chris, you've had it for so long. Do you have any regrets about the car in its daily use or over that period of time? Is there anything that's kind of gone, they should do that differently?
I guess there's a bunch which they're rectifying in a new version. The electronics, I guess the Germans, they do a good job, but it's not like Apple. So the UI, it's a bit old school, it's a bit cumbersome, it's not so intuitive. I'd say the reversing camera, it's a fisheye lens.
Yeah, it's horrible.
I'm not sure why they did that. You can't reverse in it. The good things I'd say are, look, the electronics can be turned off and they're not intrusive. So you don't get these dings and bells and chimes like other cars do.
Yeah.
It's really relaxed. So if you want to have a bit of fun, you can either wind it back or turn it off completely.
Yeah.
So if you're doing like a motor car on a wet track and you don't want the dings and dongs, you can fully drift, and if you want to be a hooligan on a closed circuit, if you wanted to do that.
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Would
Yeah,
you, would
there's
you, will
probably
you
the only
double
choice,
down?
yeah.
Will you upgrade with a new model? Because obviously a new model, like the Taycan's now, it's a several years old, so it's been a very successful car for them. Such good sales in Australia, let alone globally. They've now got the Macan coming out in full electric. Does another Taycan draw you in because you know it's going to be just bulletproofly improved, or do you see out a car like this until something more interesting comes along?
You know, I probably would have had a different answer 2 years ago. As I got into the car, I said, I'm only going to get this for a few years. But now that I'm sort of a convert in the electric thing, in terms of how I use this car, I've got other petrol cars for other purposes. Yes, so I actually am talking to the dealers. I hope they're not listening about potentially upgrading into the newer model, which is even faster and better and longer range and all that sort of stuff.
When's that out? Is that out soon, or they haven't announced it yet?
That's out this year. They just announced the new 911, so that's interesting as well. But that's a whole different story.
So that's the last Porsche in the line to go electric, isn't it? The 911.
Yeah, and they took their time, but from the early reports, and that was just yesterday, it's looking like a cracker of a thing.
Really? So that could be where you go.
So what will be the drivetrain in that? What's the drivetrain in the new 911?
From what I read, it's still a flat six. They've improved the flat six in the GTS to 3 litres. Then they've done a hybrid model where they're bolting on the electric. So it now runs a lot of power, 3 seconds to 100. And this is just from the GTS. I hate to see what they're doing in the turbo.
It's kind of like Formula One, isn't it, Chris, where there's a petrol engine, but there's all this electric battery power that are going to push it along. Do you feel like that's where they're going with the 911?
I think so. I think they're always going to keep that flat six rear engine model because it's just so iconic. But, you know, I'm also looking at the Boxster. This box is going all electric in a few years. And so that won't be interesting as a day as well. But certainly, you know, not going to a petrol station. What I will say is, like, they've had some bugs with the, they're not going to lie, with the over-air updates. Right. So I've had to go into the dealership to leave the car with them for 3 or 4 days. But here's the difference. They'll tell you and say, look, would you mind bringing a car in? We need to do a big update. I can't understand. Okay. I was about to book an Uber home or something, and they said, why don't you take one of our Cayennes, Macans, or a Boxer? You choose. Yeah. And I'll go, okay, I don't mind leaving my Taycan with you because I'm going to pick up another Porsche.
Another Porsche, Mercedes-Benz do the same thing. I had issues with my Merc, and they gave me another Merc to take.
Does that give you still that great feeling? And I say this often on the show, you know, we get to drive cool cars, but then I get back into my own car and I still get a great feeling about it. Do you pick it up after 2 or 3 or 4 days having driven petrol cars and go, I still love the fact that I went electric?
Yeah. So they gave me a Cayenne S or something, and I suddenly thought, this is really big and noisy. And I had to fill up after the first week. And I remember this.
What's this liquid I've got to put in the car?
What's this petrol thing? Yeah.
That's funny. Well, mate, I love the journey that you're on because you know you were so excited about that car when you got it, which was awesome. But, you know, it's a big risk. It's a massive risk for a company like Porsche to take a very loyal sports car customer and try and get them to do something very, very different and new. And it just shows how important it was that they got it right. Yeah. And it sounds like they really did, Chris.
They nailed it.
I think between the company, and I'm sure Audi and BMW are the same, they understand their customer, they're marketing it correctly. They bring out the big guns. Yeah. So I did a drive day with Mark Webber at Phillip Island. Yeah. Wow. And he was like, he talked to you, Trevor. He was talking to a bunch of us, potential drivers at the time in Taycan. Wow. And that's one of the things that sold me. Yeah, right. So if Mark Webber's saying it's good, then you know it's got to be okay.
Well, it's got to be good enough for Chris. That's the thing.
So they might ask us. They might ask us some brands to endorse their cars. You reckon?
I don't think so.
No, I think. Okay.
Oh, mate, don't worry, I'll hook you up. Me and Mark.
Mate, really good to chat to you. Love the fact that you love the car, and look forward to seeing you and seeing it again very soon, mate.
Good on you, Chris.
Okay, no worries. Thanks very much.
Cheers, buddy. Mate. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I mean, Chris is he's a car guy.
He had a Merc before the Porsche.
Porsche.
He's probably still got the Merc.
He's been a Porsche man. That's how you get into the club. It's like so. I think
it's exactly that. It's a club.
It's a club. So Ferrari, for example, if they bring out a brand new, only going to make 100, and it's a $3 million car. Yep. If you won $170 million in lotto, you can't buy that car. You've got to.
You got to be in the club.
You've got to come in.
Right.
There's a guy on Instagram, I follow Grant Baker in New Zealand. He's a property developer, and he just every 3 weeks he's got a new Ferrari. It's unbelievable.
Really?
But
Doing
it's
very
like,
well.
You know, he gets invited to go and see the car.
Ah.
You know, when you have a relationship with a company like that,
Yep.
and they've got, see, it goes to customer service. We talked
Absolutely,
about earlier with
mate.
other callers.
Yeah.
It's an important thing that they have.
Yeah.
And look, it's an expensive car, right?
Yeah.
And that, I think that proves that you get the value for that expense if you're in that market.
But
But I
that's
think
why
the
that's why they're a luxury brand.
Yeah.
Not only the quality of the car, but the quality of the customer service.
Yeah.
And I think that their mindset is, and Mercedes-Benz is like this too. They don't want to sell you one car. They want to sell you the next 5 cars.
That's
they want you in the club and
yeah.
want to keep you in the club.
And you hear
they
Chris
go out
talk,
of their way.
and you know that he loved that car from the get-go.
Oh, yeah.
Macca's drive-through, Bunnings,
Oh, yeah.
racetracks, and
It's-
motor cars. He's happy
He's
with
not
it all.
pretentious about it. It's
Not
his
at all.
car. Right.
And
yeah.
he's going to buy. He's there for the next one.
Yeah. Boom.
Such a good endorsement of a car like that. Not
Absolutely.
suggesting everyone can buy a Porsche Taycan, but let me tell you, if I win the $170 million lotto ever or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yep.
my number would be if I won 50 or more.
Yeah.
I'm buying a Porsche
Mate,
Taycan.
can
It's
I-
the first car I buy.
Can I be honest? I looked when my Tesla Model S order was cancelled
Yeah.
for the Plaid. I had a look at the
Yeah.
Taycan.
Just a bit of a squeeze.
It was a bit small for me. Yeah, I found
you're
it
a
was a
big
bit.
unit.
Yeah, found it was a bit tight, but and also a little bit above my budget as well.
Yeah.
I end up getting
And
something slightly cheaper.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
The former Australian Director of Communications, Chris Jordan, is a long-time friend of mine and an even longer friend of one of my best mates.
Yep.
And I remember driving the Taycan. I had so much to do with the original launch of it. And then I remember driving it a couple of years later on just a press car. And I remember emailing him and saying, mate, what's the deal? Like,
Yeah.
is there any deals?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what are the, like.
You got a spare one you don't
I
need?
got to know. I got to know, like, it's a $250,000 car. What's the best you could do? And
Yeah.
I realized at that point, even if I got it for 200, it was
it's
going to
still-
be
it's up there.
stupid payments, and it was never going to happen.
Yeah.
So
It's up there.
We say we're doing very well, but we've got a bit to go. Anyway, Chris is doing very well. Good on you, Chris.
Good on you,
Look
mate.
forward to some brisket very soon.
Yep.
You're listening to Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. Trevor Long, Stephen Fennick, 0477 657 657. All right, enough of that. Thank you very much for those calls. I still love Liam's spreadsheets. I appreciate
Yeah.
anyone with a good spreadsheet.
Well, you know what? Research is very important.
Yeah, 100%.
And, that's a sign of a good buyer.
We will get in touch with BYD and make sure they hear your
Yes,
call, Adam.
definitely.
Because I think
Yeah.
that feedback loop that we can help with at different levels. It might be different people we speak to.
Yep.
I'm happy to make sure that happens.
And you know what? They'll want to hear that. They'll want
Oh,
to
mate.
improve.
I-
It's in the company's best
I
interest
really
to take
feel
that on
that's-
board.
That's
Yeah,
true. Spot on.
definitely.
And good on you, Chris. Look forward to seeing that beautiful Taycan again very soon.
Yeah, and a barbecue. When's the next barbecue?
Yeah, I think that's an important
We're
point.
due, some more brisket, mate.
I believe they're waiting on us, essentially.
Well, I'm available.
You're not, actually.
Well, soon. Soon we'll be available.
All right, thanks for listening. Thank you to NRMA Insurance and to Uniden. We're back in next week with another episode of Two Blokes Talking Electric Cars. See you then, Stephen.
See you, buddy.